Good evening, everyone. How are we doing? Excellent, excellent. Welcome, welcome. Thank you very much. Welcome to our concert entitled Music from Warm Places. I think we could all use that, right, after this weekend, the wind and the cold. We hope tonight to be taking you on to an embarking journey through vibrant landscapes, rich cultural traditions, and fiery energy from warm-soaked regions. Before we do that, just a couple of housekeeping items for us right here. Please remember to take any cell phones, tablets, smartphones, not so smartphones, whatever you got there. Make sure that they're all silenced so that we can enjoy the music. Also remember, please, that there's emergency exits, two here as you came in to the hall here, and then also two behind you right there, and one with accessibility right through this entrance right here as well. Please remember that the building is non-smoking, even though we believe the band is going to be smoking tonight, playing a ton of music for you. You may not smoke in here. And then also, if you did not come across it, the restrooms are located in the lower level of the hall, and there is also an accessible one right out off the lobby as well. So once again, welcome. We're really excited to bring you this concert. Lively rhythms of Latin America, Spain, Ecuador, Peru, and each piece in tonight's program brings that warmth, that spirit, and the soul of those pieces that they represent. We're going to dance through Mexican folk traditions. We're going to ascend breathtaking mountain peaks with Peruvian and Ecuadorian lyricism. And we're going to feel the pulse of those Latin rhythms that are infused into a whole host of symphonically brilliant pieces put together for us. Each work brings its own unique flavor and immersing us in a passion of storytelling that defines the music of these regions. And I want to tell you a little bit about our first piece because it's a really big one to get us started with. It is entitled The Little Mexican Suite by Nubia Jaime Don Juan. It is a spirited four-movement piece celebrating the diverse musical traditions of Mexico. Composer Jaime Don Juan, blends folk melodies, vibrant rhythms, and rich harmonies to create a colorful and engaging suite. Now, the really interesting thing about this suite is that each one of these four movements you're going to hear represents a significant tree species in this region, as symbolizing strength and resilience and the deep connection between nature and the musical heritage. Of those four movements, the first movement is entitled Ahuehuete, which translates to Montezuma's cypress. The ahuehuete is Mexico's national tree and holds deep cultural and historical significance. The movement evokes a mystery, a majesty, and an endurance of this ancient species. The second movement is entitled Ayacuhuete, which is a type of Mexican pine. And the Ayacuhuete represents the cool mountainous regions of Mexico. The music here is fresh, it is lively, and it has a crispness of a highland air that you would find in the region. The third movement, saguaro, is inspired by the giant saguaro cactus. This movement brings the essence of Mexico's deserts to life, rhythmic drive, and bold harmonies as well. And finally, the fourth movement, ceiba, is the sacred tree in Maya mythology. The ceiba was believed to connect the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. And this movement captures that mystical and spiritual significance as we round out the piece. So now that we can all channel our inner arborist, and we know what's going on with all of these trees, I invite you to sit back and enjoy and let the warmth of these sounds on this cold and what has turned out to be a very windy evening place you in a really exciting place with rhythm, color, and life. Thank you, everyone, for coming and joining us. And with that, it is my great pleasure to introduce the musical director and conductor of the Concord Band, and undoubtedly the tallest conductor I have ever had the pleasure of working with, Maestro James Jim Odell. The Little Mexican Suite. Did we enjoy? Fantastic, right? Excellent, excellent. Well, if you enjoyed that, we have another one for you here. A little bit different, going to feel a little bit different here. Our next piece is entitled Volver a la Montaña, Return to the Mountain, which really is going to invoke a different set of feelings of Peruvian and Ecuadorian melodies and lyricism here. The evocative and cinematic work paints a musical picture of a traveler's return to the mountains, capturing both the grandeur of the landscape as well as the deep emotions tied to its homecoming. Shelley Hansen's writing, the composer, is both lyrical and powerful, blending folk-like themes with sweeping orchestration. You'll hear a really interesting arc in this piece that starts in the beginning, gets very boisterous in the middle, and then returns back to a very serene piece at the end as well. A fun fact for this, Volver a la Montaña was inspired by Shelley Hansen's own actual personal experiences hiking in the Rocky Mountains. She aimed to capture the feeling of standing at a mountain peak, as well as taking in the vastness of the serenity of nature as well. And not only is she a very accomplished composer, she is also a professional clarinetist and ethnomusicologist, which I think you'll see really pulls in that world feeling of music and understanding all of the influences that come to play here. So this is Volver a la Montaña by Shelley Hansen. Volver à la Montagne. Beautiful piece, right? That beautiful beginning. I can't keep track of the measures in my head when we were rehearsing that so many times. It's just absolutely so beautiful. And then that energetic part in the middle and then returning back to that. Before we get to our last piece of the first act, I am going to hand the microphone over to John Rabinowitz, president of the Concord Band, for a little announcement. Are you taking this? Yeah, absolutely. Well, is it stand that far? I don't know.
Maybe I can.
You can.
Wasn't that exciting? Don't mind if pardon me.
That's the one thing we didn't rehearse.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming out to hear us tonight. We are thrilled to have all of you here. And for those of you who are watching online on our live stream, welcome to you as well. So one of the perks of being currently serving as the president of the Board of Trustees of the Concord Band is that I get to make, every once in a while, a presentation like this. Some of you may have noticed, as you came in the door on this side, those of you who did, that there is a plaque on the wall with a series of black panels on it. And there are currently, well, there were 15 of those little black panels filled in, and now 16 as of tonight. That plaque commemorates those individuals in the 66 years of the Concord Band who were awarded what we call our Lifetime Service Award. So obviously these are going to individuals who have gone above and beyond in their contributions to the band, not just playing here on the stage, although we honor all those who come and play, and we've had who knows how many people over those years who have played with us. But we give out this award to those people who have made contributions on stage and off stage, as it were, to the viability and the logistics of the band's functioning. And I just want to tell you a little bit about tonight's recipient. He joined the band in 1972, and he joined the percussion section. I should mention that in all of these years since then, he's been our principal maintenance man in the percussion section, fixing nuts, bolts, rivets, drum heads, oiling squeaky wheels, all of those things he has handled. But in addition to that, he is an engineer by training, and he's also a bit of an inventor. And let me just give you a short list of the things that he has created for us. He made a cymbal stand that is the lightest weight thing I've ever seen. You touch it and it moves. It's really a remarkable thing, very simple, but it works beautifully. He created an antique washboard with attached cowbells, cymbals, and wood blocks, which is used whenever we do chamber versions of Dixieland music. He created a stand to hold a pair of taxi horns for when the band does An American in Paris. For those of you who know the piece, know there's a prominent taxi horn solo, actually a couple of them. And here's something that he did that has been useful both for the band and also for the Concord Orchestra. I don't know how many of you came to our fall concert when our trumpeter Jake Kinney performed Rhapsody in Blue on a grand piano, which was set up right over here. And in order that some of the clarinets didn't end up pushed into the saxophone section, a deep indignity for clarinetists, a solution had to be found for having the piano downstage. But of course, one of the legs would have been leaning off of the stage, which would have been untenable. So this individual created a stand, essentially, a platform that is added to the stage so that that leg of the piano can stand up on its own. Not only, of course, has he done these things for the good of the ensemble, but he's also done a couple of things over the years for individuals in the band. Some of you may remember the late Dan Diamond, who was a fixture in our percussion section. And he created a special riser for Dan, who was mobility challenged, so that he could have actually a desk chair to sit on as he played the snare drum. And although I don't know if she's in the audience tonight, I won't point her out. One of our trumpeters who is was vertically challenged, he created a stand for her so that she could see over the drum set in a Pops concert. And he has said to me that this is readily available for anyone to use who should happen to find themselves in that position in the future. In addition to all of these innovations and inventions, he also has been basically the principal photographer for the band. He has taken approximately, well, I won't put an actual number on it, but let's just say thousands of photos of the band in concert and in rehearsal spanning all of these decades. So essentially, he has created an historical archive of the Concord Band. And so this has been a truly remarkable career within the band, but he's also made two significant contributions to our repertoire. This person commissioned a piece called Dixieland Live, written by Lou Buckley in 2001. And he also commissioned the piece that you are about to hear, which debuted in 2020, called Fantasia Latina by Terry White. So as you can see, our recipient tonight has been a major, major contributor to the band, and it is our great honor, both on the board and in membership generally, to confer the 2025 Lifetime Service Award to Neil Tischler. Thank you, Neil. I will pass this back now to Jim Dorney, who's doing a great job with our announcements tonight. Thank you, Jim.
I'm not quite finished yet, so we don't know how it's going to go completely. Congratulations, Neil. Before we close out our first half, I just wanted to make a quick mention here. We at the Concord Band, we endeavor always, and especially to bring our fall and our winter concerts to you at no charge. And that is absolutely made possible by all of the generous donations that all of you are able to bring each time that you come. So on your way in, if you took notice, there are some donation boxes. There are also some really nice hip QR codes as well that'll take you to a link for some donations as well. I can assure you that no donation is too big. No, not too big at all for this, and we greatly, greatly appreciate it. And for all the folks who've donated already on the way in, thank you so much. And if you can, please, we are greatly appreciative of that. To round out our first half here, as John said, our next piece is actually a commission from Neil. It is entitled Fantasia Latina by Terry White. Terry White is widely known for his jazz-influenced compositions, and his background as a trombonist often inspires what you will hear absolutely as energetic, brass-forward writing in many parts of the piece as well. It is a bold piece highlighting dance rhythms. You're going to hear the samba, you're going to hear the mambo, you're going to hear the tango as well, and vibrantly interplaying between the brass sections, the woodwind sections, and of course, the percussion sections as well. His dynamic orchestrations create a piece that's both technically challenging and irresistibly fun. We've had a lot of fun rehearsing this as well, and we hope that you enjoy it to close out our first half. This is Fantasia Latina by Terry White. Fantasia Latina, everyone. Thank you all very much. We're going to take a short little intermission and we'll be back with the second half. Welcome back. How was the intermission? Great, right? Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for rejoining us for the second half. Boy, do we have a treat for you to open this second half of the concert. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about this piece. This is the Concerto for Clarinet and Wind Band. Now, the really interesting thing about this is when you think of clarinet concertos, it conjures up a number of very famous ones. Mozart's Clarinet Concerto, Weber's Clarinet Concerto, Debussy had a number of pieces that were very, very virtuosic for the clarinet. This is entirely different, and in all the amazing ways possible. This is an expressively and technically demanding work. The concerto showcases the full range of the clarinet's capabilities here. Oscar Navarro blends soaring melodies, virtuosic passages, and rich harmonies. It's structured in multiple sections, and you're absolutely going to hear that, each highlighting a different aspect of the clarinet's personality. There's soaring lyricism, there's technical agility, there's powerful dynamic contrast. As you're listening to this, I guarantee you'll be transported to a smoky jazz club at one point, and then you'll also be in a villainous chase scene that feels something straight out of the movies. And why wouldn't it be? Oscar Navarro is absolutely one of the very successfully awarded movie composers and film composers as well. He's done a ton of work for Paramount Pictures as well, and you'll feel a lot of that get pulled right into the piece that we're going to perform here. Navarro wrote the Clarinet Concerto for wind band with the soloist in mind, allowing a great deal of expressive freedom, and we have a fantastic soloist for this piece tonight. Jerry Vabulis is our principal clarinetist here. He's got a fantastic biography in the program. I do encourage you to read everything on that, but suffice it to say, he is an absolutely wonderful clarinetist. He joined the Concord Band here in 2012 and has been performing here and all around the New England area since he arrived, originally a native from Long Island and New York City as well. So we are absolutely thrilled to bring this to you. It is my pleasure to welcome Jerry Vabulis, clarinetist, along with musical director Jim Odell, the Concord Band, to deliver to you Oscar Navarro's Concerto for Clarinet and Wind Band. Jerry Fabulous, everyone. Jerry Fabulous. So, was I right? Was it a treat? There we go. Absolutely. Well, we move to the next portion of the program, which is going to feature the Area 9 Saxophone Quartet. They have a little bit of setting up to do. I'm going to remind you of just a couple of things that we have going on after this concert as well. So coming up in April is our Spring Pops, April Spring Pops concert. That is going to be on Friday, April 11th at 7 p.m. And it's once again Friday, one night, April 11th at 7 p.m. Going to be a really, really fun program that's going to blend a lot of music that's celebrating the 250th anniversary here in Concord, as well as a kind of dichotomous element of video game music as well as cinematic music. So we have kind of a really interesting blend there for our April Pops concert as well. Also remind you that in the summertime, we take a residence at the Fruitlands Museum in Harvard. While we're kind of putting the final touches on the dates for that, it absolutely looks like we're going to have a number of dates in the mid-June into early July, probably 4 to 5 of them as well, as we normally do. So come on down for that. We usually start those concerts right around 7:15, early July, a little bit before the July sun beats down on you quite heavily there. As well. So with that, I am going to welcome the Area 9 Saxophone Quartet and one of the founding members, John Rabinowitz, to talk about what we got going on there, John.
Hi, everyone, again. Yes, we are the Area 9 Saxophone Quartet, but technically speaking, only 75% Area 9 and 25% amazing guest artist. So Kara Seychelles and I are longstanding members of the Area 9 Saxophone Quartet. But our fourth could not be here tonight. He is actually leading a field trip with his music students from the Wellesley school system. So we reached out to our friend and amazing colleague, Bennett Parsons. Please welcome Bennett. All of us have played with Bennett in various contexts over the years, as you will soon hear. He is an amazing saxophonist, and he's also a great wind player generally, all the clarinets, and he recently went over to the dark side and started playing oboe as well. So he's become a double reader. We forgive him. And I also want to mention that Bennett is a founding member of the Calliope Reed Quintet, which is the first professional reed quintet in all of New England. They are an incredible group. They have one album out already. Amaru, is that the name of it? Yes. Please go to their website and check them out. It's KALLLIOPE, Reed Ensemble or Reed Quintet, tremendous group. So we're going to play two movements of a very lively and exuberant saxophone quartet by the great Venezuelan composer Aldemaro Romero, 20th century composer. The first movement is called Fandango, and the second movement is called Choro y Tango.
The Area 9 Saxophone Quartet. Kara Huckton, John Rabinowitz, Seychelle Corbin, and special guest Bennett Parsons. As we come towards the end of the program here, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge some folks who make so much of our audio and video production happening, especially for the live stream, but not only for that. Certainly after these concerts, all of these videos are posted on our YouTube channel and in various places as well, so they can always be referred and referenced to as well. That is no easy feat, and we want to pay mind to those folks right here. Truly the wizard behind the curtain, the producer and director of the tonight's program is Barry Muir, our audio engineer John Day, streaming director Nikki McGakey, video advisor Akardi Bashtin, and some fantastic camera operators Bonnie Carter, John Fremer, Abby Sexauer, and Knox Southard. Let's give them all a hand. Truly is what makes our live streaming possible, and we can't thank them enough for that. Well, we've come to it. The last piece of the program, Con Sabor Español, or with a Spanish flavor. This piece is a lively and exhilarating piece, embraces passionate rhythms and melodies of Spanish music. It was inspired absolutely by the traditional Spanish bullfight fanfare. I think it'll come right through to you as soon as we start the piece, and blends a tremendous amount of drama and pageantry to the spectacle of this. The composer, Louis Buckley, has very, very strong roots here in the New England area, as well as with a very close and companion group of ours, the Metropolitan Wind Symphony as well, and also has the distinguished honor of the longest-serving Coast Guard director of bands as well there. So fantastic for that. We hope you enjoy this piece. It is absolutely a great way. Can't think of a better way to end a program like this. You will have to resist the temptation to say or shout "Olé" at the end of the program. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope we were able to transport you to some of those warm places with music. And don't forget, right after the concert, we have some light refreshments out in the lobby. Come join us. We'd love to chat with you. Thank you. Con sabor español. Thank you all very much for joining us this evening. As I said, we hope we were able to transport you to some of those warm places on this cold night. Thank you very much, and please join us in the lobby.